Okay, so being in your beingness and being in your Nam, being in your identity. This is a story of a great sage by the name of Swetaketu, who was a seeker. And he wanted to know the reality. He wanted to know the reality beyond uh, his understanding. So there's a part of the reality which we understand, and there's a part of reality which we don't understand. So he wanted to know that. And his father sent him to an enlightened master. And when he went there, he stayed with the enlightened master for 12 years. And after 12 years, came back home. He had two donkeys with all the books loaded on the donkeys, and with all the certifications and with all that achievements. After 12 years, he's coming back home, learning yoga, learning meditation. And as he was walking back home, his father saw him coming. His father saw him coming, walking with two donkeys full loaded with books and certifications and all the achievements. And when the father saw him, he stood at the door and he said, "Stop." He said, "Stop." He said, "I have been looking at the way you walk." Very important. "I have been looking at the way you are walking. This is not the walk of someone who have known." Okay? He says, "Stop. I saw you walking. This is not the walk of someone who has known. How you walk, how you dress, how you sit, how you talk, tells the state of that person." He said, "I saw you walking. You have not known." He said, "No, no, I have known. Look, I have these two donkeys full of books. All these books, I know them by heart. I know my postures. I know my mantras. I know my text." And the father says, Have you known that by knowing which everything is known? Have you known that by knowing which everything is known?" And he looks in, and he have not known. He has known, yet he have not known. He said, "No, I have not known that." He said, "Go back to your master." He goes back to the master and he says, "Master, teach me that by knowing which everything is known." Okay, I'm going slow. He said, "Teach me that by knowing which everything is known." And the master says, "Knowing that with which everything is known cannot be taught." These are very important sutras. If you miss any of these sutras, the story will not make sense to you. He said, that by which knowing which everything is known cannot be taught. He said, then what should I do? He said, it can be caught. It cannot be taught, but it can be catched. You can catch it. Like the fire log when dry. When the fire log is dry, you put it near the fire, immediately it catches. Like that you can catch. He said, where should I go to catch it? He said, where there are no thoughts. He said, where should I go where there are no thoughts? Because wherever you go, you will have the thoughts. Wherever you go, you will have the thoughts. And that can be caught when you have no thoughts, or that space where you have no thoughts. See, what should I do? I'm in dilemma. And the master says, you know what? I feel pity on you. Let me give you the way. It cannot be taught, but the way can be shown. He said, please, teach me that, by knowing which everything is known. And the master said, I have 10 cows in my ashram. Listen to this. The master says, I have 10 cows in my ashram. Take these cows, go to the mountains, come back when they have become 10,000. So he wanted to know, by knowing which everything was known, so this was the only way, and he trusted the master. The problem is we don't trust the master. We always find faults in the master. This is the modern age. But this was the old times, when people were of different caliber, when hearts were open. Now our minds are open. Heart is not open. So he trusted. He took the 10 cows and he went to the mountains. And the master said, come back when they have become 10,000. It's a beautiful story. So be with me. If one sentence you miss, you will miss the whole story. So he goes to the mountains with the 10 cows. And the master said, where there are no thoughts, remember that. So now in the mountains, in the wild of the mountains, he started to sit with the trees. He started to walk with the rivers. He started to sing with the birds. Birds have no thoughts. Trees have no thoughts. Rivers have no thoughts. Something which is missing from our life. In the past, they worshipped the trees. In the past, they worshipped animals. They had sacred animals. Every clan had an animal which was sacred. It was an opportunity to find your sacredness. Because in the realm of the humans, by this constant judgment, you cannot experience the self. So they found out these ways. Go, this is a sacred tree, sit with it. There was nothing sacred there. The idea was to find something sacred here. These were devices, these were tools. These were yogic tools. So with time, he started to sleep under the stars. He started to see the stars. We see thoughts. We don't see stars. If somebody bangs our head, then we see the stars inside. We don't see the stars outside. Forgot our connection with the nature. And Guru Nanak said it very beautifully. He says, Balhari kudrat vasya tera ant na jai lakhya. You want to find the infinity within yourself, sit with nature. They had sacred animals, they have sacred trees, they had sacred rivers, they have sacred mountains. Beautiful traditions of the past. We have lost it. And that's why we suffer today. So now the story says, he started to associate with the thoughtlessness of existence. And first, at the blink of the eye, there are 1,000 thoughts in the head. And now, because you are in the company of those who have no thoughts, slowly and slowly his thoughts started to disappear, because there was no judgment coming from the outside and there was no judgment coming from the inside. Shunya inside and shunya outside. And slowly, my friends, slowly and slowly, he forgot how to dwell in the realm of the thoughts. He started to fall into beingness. Before, he was in the books, he was in the search, he was in the perfection of the postures and perfection of that and perfection of these. When the cosmos is never perfect. Cosmos is never perfect. How can we be perfect? So slowly and slowly, he came out of his head. He came out of his head. And now the beautiful thing, this is the ultimate now. Slowly and slowly, he came out of the head. All the emotions went away because he was with thoughtlessness. He was in emptiness. And now he forgot how to count. He forgot how to count. The master said, come back when the cows were 10,000. So he forgot how to count. Forgot. And now the next beautiful part of the story. He forgot how to count. Because he forgot how to count, because, I repeat, because he forgot how to count, the cows went to him and told him, Svetketu, we have become 10,000. Let's go back home. This is called conscious communication. When you communicate without the thoughts, when your consciousness communicates, you understand? Not your head communicates, not your thoughts communicate, not your concepts communicate. Your conscious communicate. And that can only happen if you experience the reality without the veil of your thoughts. Guru Nanak says in Japji, Kiv sachiara hoya, kiv kuda tutte pal, how the veil can be removed. And hukam rajai chalana, the hukam, to experience the reality without your narration. All this while I've been talking about is hukam, the will of the divine, it is translated as, is to see the reality as it is without your will imposed onto it, how it should be and how it should not be. So the cows came back, communicate. The earth communicates with you. The sun communicates with you. The moon communicates with you. The trees communicate with you. The mountains communicate with you. The birds communicate with you. The winds communicate with you. The great Tilopa, the great Siddha of the Tibetan tradition, Tilopa, Milarepa, when he heard the winds, he composed poetry. When Rumi, the Sufi sage, when he heard the flute, he wrote the poetry. You know that? The universe wants to communicate with you, wants to do a conscious communication with you, but you are caught up in the head, so the universe cannot communicate with you. Everything speaks. The birds are singing a song. The breath is singing a song. The heartbeat is the drum of Shiva. Dance is happening. You are unaware because you're caught in your emotions, how this should be and how this should not be. That's what you are concerned. And the funny part is you have no control of what is happening, and yet you want to have control. It's called Maya, the unsolved equation of life. Maya means the unsolved, the riddle of life. Nobody has solved it. And everybody thinking I'm on my way to solve it. Okay, so now the beautiful part of the story. The cows come and the cow said, Swetaketu, we have become 1,000. Let's go back home. Okay, so Swetaketu heard that. He goes back home. He walks with the cows. So 10,000 cows with Swetaketu walking back home. And when 10,000 cows, the sound, the roar that was coming, the master who was meditating opened his eyes and something is happening. Some great power, some great awakening is have happened somewhere. Some great sage who have awakened the heart, who's gone beyond the thoughts of your mind, who have awakened the beingness is approaching. He immediately runs up onto the roof to see who have come. He goes up and he sees 10,000 cows with Swetaketu walking, walking, walking. And he calls all his students. He calls all his students. He said, come, every one of you, come onto the roof. Let me show you a miracle. A miracle have happened. Let me show you a miracle. Come, everybody came up. And when all the students were present, the master said, look, 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 10,001 cows are coming back home. 10,001 cows are coming back home. Swetaketu was one with them. He was no more individual. He had become all. Kasminno bhagavo vigyate sarvamidam vigyatam bhavatiti. Kasminno bhagavo vigyate sarvamidam vigyanam bhagavati. Which means teach me that by knowing which everything is known. And the master said, Swetaketu have known what needs to be known. And he came back home. And Swetaketu experienced that which cannot be experienced. And he experienced it with the trees, with the cows, with the waters, with the rivers. He experienced the Shunya Samadhi, or the Sahaj Samadhi, where your eyes are open, where the heart is still pumping, where you're still breathing, where you enjoy the emotions, and yet you have transcended the emotions. The direct path, which is available right here, right now, only when this falls down here. It's called falling in love, in short, when you fall from here to here. So falling in love is called the Shunya Samadhi. It is called the Sahaj Samadhi. It is called the zero gravity.